Welcome everybody. As I said a couple days ago in my last video, lunar video of the quarter moon, I said that I was coming out with a new book, and just to prove to you that I was not lying, here it is. Received it yesterday. It's the initial copy that I get to go through and make sure that it's free of any huge mistakes, and I can correct it. I find it a bit odd that they've gone ahead and it's already out on Kindle and let's see, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and if there were any mistakes in it, the people that were, if they were to buy the book, would have those mistakes. I started reading it intensively last night, and I'm about 2/3 of the way through. And believe me, after you've written a book like this and checked and rechecked and you start to get tired of your own story, believe me. And I've only found one little mistake, which I'm going to try to get them correct. But even if it weren't corrected, it wouldn't make a huge deal. It's was a double use of a word, and no big deal. But I've got a little bit more of the book to go to confirm that it's free, and then I will give it its final okay and release. But anyway, this is it. I think they did a great job with the cover. That is me with my 16-inch f4.5-inch Newtonian telescope on the cover here. That was taken inside my domed observatory down in Thomaston before I retired. I don't know if you can see it in the background here. I don't know if you can see the unfinished wood that's part of the dome structure up here around the corner. If you can see that, that's unpainted. That's because the dome had just been completed, and I got it up and got it in working order. And I wanted to use it, and I spent a few days during the day putting black paint on those unfinished ribbings. But the book itself, as I say, I call it Waxing and Waning, a Memoir of an Amateur Astronomer. And I've talked to a number of people, and I still can't get a straight answer. What is the difference between a memoir and an autobiography? I don't know. Maybe somebody out there could tell me. I don't know. I don't think it makes a heck of a lot of difference. This is just the story of my life. It's a story of how I became interested in astronomy as a 5-year-old boy standing in the backyard and being called in a little later than usual one night and watching the stars come out and being fascinated by them, and just couldn't get enough information. And it all started from there. I became very involved at the age of 12, and I was lucky enough to run into a high school student who took me under his wing, and we just enjoyed observing in the night sky. He had built a 3-inch reflecting telescope. We used that extensively, and then he went ahead and bought, back in the 1950s, the unitrons were just the refractors of the day. They were things of beauty, and he bought a 2.4, and it was $125, I remember, back in that day, and that was a lot of money for a 2.4-inch refractor, but it was a fantastic telescope for its size. And I used $11 of my money and bought his 3-inch, and together we had a ball in the night sky. And then the rest of the book, it's the story of my life and how I wanted to be an astronomer so badly. I wanted it. I wanted research. It was just in me. I just wanted it so bad. And I get to high school, and I find out that there's just no way. There's no way you're going to get advanced degrees, doctorate degrees, and become an astronomer. I can't even do simple high school algebra. It was that bad. I tell about how athletics kind of saved me. I was blessed with athletic ability, and that really helped because it kind of made me feel more as a member of my class. At least I was contributing that way. I mean, when I was on the court and basketball and on the baseball diamond, I was in my own world, and you know, nothing could bother me there. In the classroom, it was just horrible. I was scared to death to be called to the blackboard, as I think I mentioned the other night as we were observing. And that's true. I mean, I would be afraid to be called up, because the only thing I could spell with any certainty, and this is not too far from the truth, was my own name. I mean, to this day, I drive my wife crazy every day asking her how to spell something. And you should have seen when I was writing this book, even though we have spell check on the computer, there were a lot of times when the spell check would be confused by words it wouldn't recognize, and I'd be driving my wife crazy about, well, how do I spell this and how do I spell that? But it was a lot of fun writing, I have to say. It's not a very long book. It's 150 pages, I believe. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I want to try to show you one thing. Let me see if I can get to the page. Yeah, here it is. And let's see if I can hold it here. I just want to show you the observatory I started with, and it's going to be kind of hard to see because it's relatively small. Let's zoom in. Up on top, let me get this centered a little better and bring it, level it. I don't know how well you can see this, but up on top here, this photo here, that's a slide-off roof observatory. If you notice in the back, it's just a square building, and you can see the roof is rolled off and it's on posts. And that was the observatory I used originally. And then down here at the bottom, over here, and I don't know how well you can see that also, that's the domed observatory, and that's the way it finished up. And I don't know if you can see, I'm going to zoom in a little closer and see if it helps. I don't know if it will. Off to the side, let me see, off to this side, right over in here where my finger is, it might be better if I go this way, right, and it's hard to do, you're looking at a picture, and right on this side there's a small 5x8 addition to the observatory. It may not show up in this picture at all because it's very dark, but that was the warm room. That's where I sat, ran the telescope and the computers and controlled the camera, and the only thing I had to go out in the dome for was to give the dome a turn or to rotate the filter holder that took the CCD images. I had every intention in the world of motorizing that dome, and it was just one of those things that I never got around to, and it came back and bit me because of my severe back problems. I ended up leaving the house probably a little bit earlier than I would have had to if the dome had been turned right, have turned it by motor. But hey, I got a good number of years. I worked for over 40 years out of that combined observatory in either form, the slide-off roof or the dome. I'm sure you can't see this other side over here very well. This page right. Let's see, this one right here. There's a graph there, and I'm sure you probably can't see it very well. But that was one of the main research projects that I did on DQ Hercules, Nova Hercules 1934. And that star, I found it went through an eclipse cycle that nobody was following. I looked up that on the AAVSO, and I found out people were observing a star, but they were doing one observation a night of the star, and nobody was following the eclipse cycle that was associated with it. And that was my research project. I went and over almost a 2-year period worked on that star and studied the eclipse cycle, and I stumbled on an oddity where the star would bottom out after it had a 56-minute cycle where it would start to dim and then come back to full brightness. It would take a total of 56 minutes. On the way down, it would bottom out at brightness and then start to recover, and within about 2 minutes of the recovery, you could see the recovery taking place on the graph, and it would hit a standstill, almost like a shelf, where the brightness would just stay steady for 2 or 3 minutes, and then the climb would resume back to normal brightness. I had never seen this written up before, I've never seen it graphed before, and I've never even heard it talked about before. So I went ahead and did a research project on it and submitted the data to the AAVSO and a group called the Center for Backyard Astrophysics. Talked to a few people about it, and they said, oh, I'll try to get some confirmation from other observatory sites. And I was able to get one other observatory site, and that was my good friend Jim Edlin, who was my electronics expert. He took me into the electronic age when he built my CCD camera, the original cookbook camera. If it hadn't been for him building it, I wouldn't own it because I didn't know anything about building it. But he had a camera, and he ran a run on that star, D2 Hercules, and his graph that he returned to me had the most beautiful example of that standstill I've seen. Some of mine, they would be odd. There'd be variations in the standstill. You could definitely see it would stop rising, but it'd be a ragged look to it. The one that Jim Edlin sent me was a classic standstill for like 3 minutes, where it just stood still and did not brighten, and then the brightness continued. But I turned all that information in, and it's as far as it's gone. Nobody else has picked up the work. This was done in 1998, 1999, and into very early 2000. And here we are now, 2014, and that work still has not been picked up. But the good thing about it is all these agencies, the AAVSO, the CBA, all that data is archived, and somebody in the future hopefully can pick this data up, look at it, and figure out what's going on. I have my own theories, and in fact, after writing this book, it gave me something to do all of last winter. As you can see, it's not a huge book. Like I say, it's about 150 pages. The print is relatively small, you can see. So I mean, and it took me 8 months to write it, but I had fun basically because early on I covered all the things in my life. Everything I did as a little kid through high school and to the Navy. But after every phase of my life, I always returned to astronomy. And after meeting my wife, who I dedicated this book to, my life settled down. Life settled down, and I was able to build my observatories and get started. And here's a picture. I'm sure if she knew I was showing you this right now, she'd probably be very upset with me. But this was my wife when I met her. This was taken about 3 months prior to our wedding. And if you were to read this book and hear about how I met her and actually walked into a door looking at her when I first saw her, there's the reason why. Very, very beautiful, and she's very beautiful today. But anyway, after finishing this, and I started thinking about this upcoming winter, what are you going to do? Well, I started thinking about that DQ Hercules project, and I have decided to go ahead and write a second book, and it's going to totally deal with the DQ Hercules project. It'll start out with a little history on variable stars and how they're, how they're categorized, and the little bit we know about it, and their history and how they were studied in the past and how we study them now, and work on up to the DQ project, and then talk about the work I did on it. We'll see what happens with that. Hopefully it'll work out, and I'll get that book out. So anyway, that's that. I said I had a book coming out. Here it is. And as I say, it is available as far as I know right now on Kindle. You can get it for like $3 something, and the soft cover version book, like I'm holding here in my hand, I believe was listed at $19.99, something like that. So there it is, guys. That's it, and just thought I'd like to show you that. And then I talked, and I was telling you guys about a very, very neat set of eyepieces that I have started to use in my imaging series on the moon. Let me back this off a little bit so maybe we can see them all. I am short one. I have one that is on back order, and these, again, if you read my book, you'll see how I give my wife all kinds of credit for helping me get the things I need in astronomy. A lot of times I would say, well, geez, I need this, but it's expensive. And my wife would go ahead and find some way, and it'd be a Father's Day gift, a Christmas present, or just a surprise gift, and it would show up. And that's how these eyepieces start to show up. I have right now the 6.5 millimeter, and I'm going to show you something. Look at the size of the lens. Get this where the light there is in there a little better, and we'll zoom in. And you can see the size of the eye lens on these. I mean, a 6.5 millimeter eyepiece in the old Plössl series was but looking like through a little pinhole. These have large eye lenses. There's 6-element glass, ED glass, and I think they give fantastic images. And my last few series of videos have been taken exclusively with this series of eyepieces. I have the 6.5, the 9, the 12, the let's see, the 18, and the 25. And that's, of course, the lowest power, and the 6.5 is the highest. I am missing the one right here that would be the highest. I believe it's a 4.5 millimeter, and I have that on back order. I find them fantastic eyepieces. I love them, and I've been using them almost exclusively now. I've got these screws on my camera set up to accept these eyepieces in and out and interchange very easily. And as I mentioned to you in some of my Moonscape videos, and I believe this will be number 29 when it's put up, I have one goal this summer, and I may need to use a Barlow with the new 4.5 when it comes, but I want to directly image crater pits on the floor of the crater plateau. You can see them visually on a very, very good night, but I've yet to image them directly and live with the with the webcam, the Logitech C910 webcam. And I believe on a good steady night with a Barlow lens and a high power eyepiece, if we can get steady enough seeing, we just might be able to pull it off live, and not a picture, not a static picture that I've taken and developed and processed, but a live video image. Maybe we will be able to see those craters. And at worst, possibly I might have to, after trying and maybe not being successfully seeing them live, I may be able to take a segment of video and then run it through Registax later and process it and show them that way. But anyway, we'll find out. We'll give that a try later. So guys, that's just it. It's just a short little video I wanted to put together. I wanted to prove that I was telling you the truth. There is a book. It is out now. And I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about these eyepieces. One thing I almost forgot. These eyepieces are only $80 a piece. They're $79.90, just $79.95. $80. I was using a set of Orion eyepieces, great eyepieces. They work well, but for instance, my 21 millimeter, I believe now sells for something like $140 some. Now it works great, but for a little more than half the price, I have these eyepieces, and I think they work every bit as good. And for some reason, I think in some ways, with my setup and my camera holder, I actually think these eyepieces work a little bit better. So just a tip, check out the Meade. These are very similar to, if you've seen Bill Bryson's videos from down in Texas. He worked with a set of EDI eyepieces. They weren't the Meade series like these. They were another brand. I forget what the brand was, but I believe they're very similar. They're probably all made by the same company, and they just put the name of the company that are making them for on the eyepiece. In this case, it's Meade. They're Meade eyepieces. So that's it, guys. I'll be seeing you again soon with a video of the moon. This hot summer weather makes it a little tough on me. As I've told you in the past a number of times, I have severe back problems, and I've been having some really bad problems with it lately. So it's cut down on my amount of times getting out there with a telescope. As I said, part of the reason for writing that book was I'm going to turn 70 in September. So who knows how much time I have left, so I guess I just wanted my family to know what it was I was doing. And just, who knows how many years you have allotted. So that's why I went ahead and wrote the book. But it is cutting down on my amount of time getting outside. It's getting very hard to set up the equipment and then have to break it down since I no longer have the observatory. But okay, guys, that's it. We'll see you next time outside with the moon. And until then, guys, good health, clear skies, take care, and we'll see you later. Take care, guys.